Hello, everybody. It's your good buddy Spider here once again for another episode of Let's Talk About This. And this is a particularly, it's a very pointedly kind of mature show this week, and I want to make sure that everybody's okay and prepared to listen in. And so I'm calling this a parental guidance suggested show. There's no bad language, and you know, it's not like going to be talking about violence and gore and stuff. But it's kind of it's a topic that's kind of serious, and it's different from my other shows. And the reason I wanted to do this was because it's still fresh for me, and I want to make sure I can get my thoughts out while it's fresh. Because we tend to bury this kind of stuff too often, and we don't talk about it enough, even though it's something that's fundamental to life, really, So, that being said, it is, like I said, it's parental guidance suggested because it deals with topics of passing away, is the way I'm going to say it. And so, if that makes you uncomfortable, or if you are a listener who listens with your kids or something like that, and you want them to, you don't think they're quite ready for that conversation, then you can send them out of the room. And so I wanted to give you that little disclaimer first. So today's episode is called Saying Goodbye. And it sounds a bit like a loaded term because it almost sounds like, oh, you're going to say goodbye to the podcast, you're going to stop doing it. Oh no, and it's not like that, but I mean it's a lot more. It's about saying goodbye to people that you know in your life, or people, and in my case, a pet. Yesterday was Sunday, as of this show, because the show broadcasts on a Monday. So if you're listening to this much farther down the road, then you'll be like, oh, well, whichever. But yeah, yesterday for me was Sunday, and I was supposed to go over and hang out and do some business, do some things for This Uncanny Earth with Rob, and shoot some videos and visit some locations and all kinds of stuff. But I ended up having to bury a pet. So, and that does happen. And I wanted to take a talk about that and look into that and how I felt about it, and how we don't always deal with these things like we should. But this was a cat, one of my family's cats. We have several cats, and we take care of them. We've been known to rescue cats over the years. And yeah, he got real sick late Friday night, and he was touch and go on Saturday, and then early Sunday morning, about 11, he passed. So I had to cancel all that because it was a tough time for me there. And I've had many pets over my life. I've had pets as a kid and pets as an adult, and it doesn't get easy when they get sick in ways that you can't help. A lot of times there's only so much that a vet or a doctor can do, and so you just kind of have to resign yourself to, here's hoping maybe things will get better, or if not, you just got to keep them as comfortable as you can before they go. And that's basically where we were at. And I like to think he had a good life here. He was older. He wasn't elderly, but he was older. He was probably about, I don't know, between 10 and 12 years old, at least. So he had a full life. And it's interesting. There's going to be a lot of stories on this episode. I'm going to be going back into my brain and my memories and things, and covering a lot of stories. And I'm going to try not to take too many breaks to deal with the sniffles and things, because I'm a person. I have my own feelings and things like that, and I'm not going to pretend that I don't, or that I didn't feel bad over the last several days. So, and it's okay to do that kind of stuff. If you're feeling it, it's okay. It's not all the days of things being, manly and whatever, and don't show your tears and all that is kind of gone. If you feel bad, you feel bad, and it happens, and it's okay. It's okay to express it. It's okay to let that out. If you do it privately or if you do it in public, whatever, just let it out. You don't want to keep that stuff in. I keep a lot of other things in, but I got to learn to do better, and I think we all do. But this cat's name was Bogey, which was short for General Beauregard, which you might think, oh, that's a weird name for a cat. But cats, all of our pets tend to have weird names. It's just how we are as people. We give them kind of weird names, based on our interests or based on their personalities or whatever. And I have to wonder what they think about themselves. Like, did you hear what this person calls me? What the heck? They're crazy out of their gourd. But yeah, his name was Bogey. And we'd called him General Beauregard because we got him from a family friend, or work friend, really, who is also gone. He passed on himself sometime during the C-19 virus time frame. I don't know if that's what he passed from or something else. He wasn't the healthiest person in the world. He had a weight issue, and I don't want to say anything bad about that. I'm not saying that in a negative way. It just put, he had a lot of extra weight, and it put a lot of stress on his body, and he didn't get around very well. So, but and I don't mean that in an insulting way, of course. But he was a big Civil War buff. He loved that kind of stuff. He loved things dealing with the Civil War. He loved various things like that. And so we named the cat, General Beauregard, right? And it's tough. It's always tough. It hurts a bit. And the thing is, like, how do we deal with this kind of stuff? It's crazy how common this is, because it's just a fact of life. Things, they grow up, they grow old, and then they pass on, and that's how these things work. People and pets you'll have, and we have whole industries based around it, dealing with funerals and all this stuff. But we still don't really know how to deal with it. Like, we want to be celebratory of the life of people who move on, but we break down, we fall apart, we and I think that's a natural thing. I think it's okay, even if even if you believe, hey, they're in a better place or whatnot. I think it's okay to still be upset that they're missing, because they're gone. They were a big part of your life, and now they're not. And that happened to me in a lot more. I mean, I'm not going to downplay this event. I mean, they're all on the same level for me. I hate losing pets and people or whatever, but there's a big one that's pretty visceral for me. And this was when I was much younger. I was in my 20s, and you might be thinking, "Oh, that's much younger for you. How old are you?" Well, I've been around, and I worked in a hospital. I did floor tech, which what that means is it's a fancy title for the guy who mops up and down the hospital hallways, strips and waxes and refinishes the floors and things, right, to keep everything clean and sterile and whatnot. So I'm down there, I'm in between, like, waiting for something to dry or doing something, I don't know. And I'm down hanging out in, I don't sound like a callous, but I'm hanging out in the emergency room, because it was a slow night. There wasn't much going on, and you can't just go hang out there if there's people coming in and if they have emergencies and whatnot. But, I was chatting with various people on the nursing staff. And I get a call. I'm supposed to call an extension within the hospital. There's like an overhead page system, and it calls for me, and it's my uncle. Because I had an uncle who I still do. He's still around. This uncle works, or at least he did at the time. He worked at the hospital too. He was more in the nursing. He was in the nursing part. And he calls down, and so I call the extension, And I'm like, hey, what's going on? He's like, hey, we've been trying to reach your dad, which this is going to be a recurring theme. My dad is a surgeon who also worked for the hospital. It's kind of a family thing, I guess, but, it's not really a family business. I don't deal with that anymore, but still. So he said, yeah, we've been trying to reach your dad, but he's not answering the cell phone. I'm just like, oh, well, I don't know. I can try calling my mom or something like that, try her phone number, because he was probably home at the time, if it's like something that you really need. And he's like, okay, well, you know what, stay there for a minute, I'm going to come down and talk to you, because it's about you too. And it got me nervous, because I'm like, what does that mean? And he comes down, and he tells me it's about my grandpa. And you can tell I'm still rough with this. It's been years after the fact, but it's still rough for me. It was 2006, I think. But my grandfather, who was a great guy, like, he knew so many people across the entire United States. And that'll come into play in a minute. Like, you'll hear the results of that here in a minute. But he did, like, he was really, really religious, and he did work camps and things. He wasn't religious in a way that he would, like, berate you and things like that, or push you on that kind of stuff. But he was just a helpful person, and he helped anybody. And he helped build prayer buildings, and he helped, like, he was like a mechanic, a woodworker. He liked to work with his hands. He was part of that generation where he liked to work. He liked to be doing something. He was supposed to be retired, and he really wasn't. He was always doing something. And so he was on this trip. I think he was driving through Alabama or something, and he hadn't felt good. And he pulled over. He was driving a bunch of guys to go on one of these work trips, and he pulls over because he didn't feel good, and within like 5-10 minutes he was gone. He'd had a massive heart failure, and that was it. And so my uncle's like, yeah, we really got to tell your dad. Because my dad was the oldest kid of the family. That was his dad, and he was the oldest. So I said, okay, I'll call Mom. I called Mom. And my dad had been in the bathroom. Of course he's not going to answer the phone. He's in the bathroom. And I had to break the news. When it happened. It was really hard for me. It's still difficult. Like, it's got me kind of tearing up right now while I'm telling the story. And it's been since 2006. So, and the funeral, oh my goodness, like the church, it's this little church at the end of the road where my parents live. And it's big enough, like, you go in there, it's not like tiny, but it's not huge like a mega church or anything, but it's big enough. And man, he knew so many people. That place was packed so much that there were people having to wait outside, like long lines of people, to get in for the viewing and things like that. And they couldn't even fit everybody in for the actual service. And I got a picture of him. Up on the wall. Doing his work. He's got a work apron on and his favorite hat and a hammer in his hand. Doing some work on something. And it still gets me. Like I'm having trouble talking about it right now. And things just don't, you don't just get over stuff sometimes. It just, no matter how much you talk about it, no matter how long they've been gone, no matter how much, you think, oh yeah, I'm doing okay. Things have a tendency just to stick in your mind, and that's okay. It's okay. That's kind of why I'm doing the show about this, because it's okay. It's never going to feel good. But it's okay. It happens. And that's not to downplay it, that's not to make it seem like it's not a big deal, because it is. It's a big deal for anybody who's involved, who knows somebody who's gone. But we'll be okay. We'll be okay. And even in this even in regards to this whole network thing that we do, like, you guys know, or you should know, that that this podcast is part of the Uncanny Media Network, which is spawned from This Uncanny Earth, which is the show that Rob and I run on Fridays. And even with that, we had a super fan. We had a super fan his name was Todd. And he wanted us to autograph him a shirt, so we autographed a shirt. It's our first autographed shirt. I don't know if we've done any other ones. I don't know if we've ever done any other ones. I don't ever know what happened to that shirt. But it was for Todd. We mailed it to him. And he ended his life because he had a struggle on the inside that nobody else was seeing. And and we talked to him a lot. Like, we would talk to him in Messenger. He was a guest on the show a couple times around the holidays and things, and he was doing his best to be a better person. He was trying to be a Buddhist. He was trying to make peace with the world around him, and he tried to be happy. He tried to be, and then that happened. So, and it's a constant reminder. It's a constant reminder. And I got more pets that are getting old. I've a couple cats here that are older than this one was, and I don't want to talk about it like as if it's a self-fulfilling prophecy and like, oh no, now somebody's going to get sick soon. But you got to confront it sometimes. Like, you got to just understand that things are going to happen. And it is too bad, but it's how life works. It's part of nature, and it's okay to feel sad about it. I feel pretty sad right now, actually. Like, I'm struggling right now not to just, not to let it all out right here on the air. But, just so you folks know, it's okay. It's a natural thing that happens. And that doesn't mean that we should just be like, oh, well, it happens, so let's move on. It's okay to feel bad. It's okay to miss people. And it's okay if years away down the road you think of somebody that's gone and you still tear up, you still, fall to pieces. It's okay. There's people I went to school with that aren't here anymore. And it's crazy. It's crazy to think the kind of stuff that happens to people. Like, there was a kid I went to school with. He didn't get along with too many people because he was really abrasive. He was just one of the trouble kids that caused trouble and things like that. Was always down at the principal's office or on detention or something. Skipping school. And at the time, when I was a kid, I went to church pretty regularly, and I was trying to be, before I got disillusioned with some of that stuff. Which, not to say anything bad about it for people who were pretty religious. But I was religious at the time, so I'd talk to other kids about it and things like that, and sometimes they'd be receptive and sometimes they wouldn't. And this kid was the complete opposite. He was completely not religious in a way that he was really, derogatory about it. But he and I, we would play off back and forth on this kind of stuff. I don't know if we were friends or if we were just like kind of associates in the same thing, but we would talk at school. We wouldn't hang out outside of school. We weren't, that close, but we would talk in school. We'd have certain classes together, and we'd poke fun at each other for what each other believed. And I don't want to make that sound like making fun of people for their beliefs is a good thing. I don't want to make it seem like bullying is good or anything like that, because that's not fair, or being discriminatory. Don't do that. But we had this dynamic as kids. We were kids. We'd make jokes about each other and things like that, and in the way that kids do. And it wasn't real serious. It wasn't like we were hating on each other or something like that, or really trashing what the other one believed, but that's what we would do. And one day when he was skipping school, he was in a car full of other kids, and they tried to pass another car because one of them knew how to drive. I don't remember which one it was. They tried to pass a car in a real dangerous area, and got hit by another car coming the other way. And then he was gone. Only one person, I think, from that crash made it. Everybody else, that was it. And it's weird to think that he was gone, because we didn't it wasn't like we got along in a way that we were super close, but we weren't enemies. We didn't hate each other, and we talked. We joked around, and then he's gone. When I was in kindergarten, there was a girl who was a new girl. In kindergarten you think, oh well, everybody's new. You're in kindergarten, but when you're halfway through your kindergarten, and then here's a new student, it's a big deal as a little kid. As a little kid, this new person, and there was this new girl, and I have such vague memories of it. I feel like we got along and we hung out at school in one of those little kid kind of not romance kind of things, but I was sweet on her at the time, and there was an accident at home with the moving truck, and then she was gone, and it's weird. It's crazy, and I still remember it. Who knows what she might have become now. So, but we have this weird dynamic with it. We don't know how to deal with it, even though it's something that happens all the time. Some people are here and then they're gone. Your pet's here, and then something happens and it's gone. I had a dog. Who I'd had. My mom used to raise these Pomeranian dogs as a little home business, not in a puppy mill kind of way where they're always in cages and just bred all the time. They would breed naturally in a wide open space that they could run around and play and things. And then when she would sell the puppies and things, they were registered and whatnot with whatever the dog commission is. I don't remember what it's called, AKC or something like that. And sometimes they didn't sell. Sometimes we would just keep them at home because either people just didn't want a particular one or whatever. So we'd keep them at home. And so I took one with me when I moved out of the house because I was I like this one. I like him. And he was my buddy for all through my early adult life, all the way up through when I moved from where I had moved out to another town in Ohio, and then all the way down to here where I'm living now. He went through all that. He was 16, 17 years old, maybe more. He was an oldie, just a little dog. And he had a heart condition. He developed a heart condition that would make him swell up, so he had to have heart medication and things like that. And 2 days after we brought my daughter home from being born at the hospital, he passed. And and it's hard, you can hear right now. It's difficult because I had him for a long time. But it's okay. If you've heard me talk on This Uncanny Earth about stuff, you know that I think that everything is energy. Even consciousness, even our thoughts and our memories and all that, that's energy. And I like to think that somehow some of that is preserved and goes on to something else. Either, I don't know if you want to call it rebirth as a new person, or they go to a different kind of existence, or what. I don't know. There's no answer to that because nobody really knows. There's people who've had near experiences and they've come back and said, oh yeah, I was here and I know what happens and blah blah, but you don't really know until it happens to you, and then there's really no coming back to tell anybody, But yeah, well, I like to think that he's somewhere and he's happy, I guess. His heart was just too big for him, really, is what it was. So yeah. It's okay. It's okay. And like I said, I knew I wasn't going to get through this show without feeling some things. But it's natural. It happens. And I'm not going to edit anything out. This is live right now, of course. And it's going to go out onto Spotify and YouTube and all that other kind of stuff after the facts. And I'm just going to leave it like how it is. Because this is natural. This is natural emotions. This is how people feel. And it's alright to feel like that. You know? And sometimes it's different. Sometimes people will get out of your life, and they're not gone in that way. They haven't passed away, but they leave your life in a way that they might as well have. Either through an argument or through something, and they're just like, you know what, they're gone, and you never see them again. And it feels just as bad. You'll have memories every so often. Maybe things end in a way that they... Nowadays, usually we can call people, we can still email people, we can still chat with people online and whatnot. But what if they don't? What if they're just like, you know what? No, I'm either going off grid, or I don't want to talk to you anymore, or this or that. And it's okay. People will come into your life, people will leave your life, and it's important that they do. Like I don't want to downplay the effect that people have on your life. Because these are our friends, these are our family, these are our treasured pets and things that we've taken care of and things. And but it's okay. You know? It's okay. Oh, there's the sniffles. There's the sniffle, guys. Oh, excuse me. I'm not going to apologize for it. I'm not going to say sorry, because, that's how I feel. And even though I'm still trying to do my special radio voice, that's just, this is natural. This is what happens. I had to take my glasses off, actually, because my glasses were getting fogged up and kept getting wet, So, but, so I'm going to raise a glass. I'm going to raise a glass to Bogey and my grandfather, who didn't drink at all. Like, my grandfather was not a drinker, not even a bit. I don't think he drank even, the occasional wine at all. Like, he didn't drink. He didn't drink beer. He didn't drink anything. It was water. It was coffee. It was tea. It was Postum. Postum. If you've ever heard me talk about Postum, you probably haven't. Postum is pretty good. It's made out of wheat germ. It's like a coffee alternative. He drank that, and he got me turned on to that. I stayed with him for a couple weeks when I was a teenager. Well, when I was, upper teenager, on the cusp of leaving the teenage years, and I was down there with him for a week. He lived in Kentucky at the time, and that's where we stayed for a couple weeks. But that's another story. That's another story, and we're getting on towards the half hour, and I usually try to keep these about a half hour now, just for consistency, But I got all kinds of stories. I mean, I have known a lot of people, I've known a lot of animals and things, and a lot of them have gone. And that's okay. They leave their mark, and you try to remember the good times, which is not easy. And if you break down, in the middle of something, like at an event or wherever, then, don't feel bad about it. Take your time. Let it out. Do what you gotta do. If you gotta be like, hey, excuse me, I gotta run to the bathroom real quick. I gotta have a moment. Or I gotta go to a different room or whatever, Or even if you just, tell your friends, just be like, hey, I gotta get this out. If your friends are your friends, and they'll be alright with it. They're not gonna make fun of you about stuff. They're not gonna be like, don't do that here. They're not gonna be embarrassed. They're just gonna be like, okay. We got you. Yeah, so that's it. That's what I got. Oh, to Todd, too. Raise a glass to Todd, my grandfather, my dog, Bogey, the cat, and anybody else. And anybody else out there who wants to raise a glass with me, you go ahead. Let's have a drink to them. Whether it's water, or tea, or coffee, or spirits of any kind, let's raise a glass to the dearly departed, right? And I think that's it. I think that's it. That's all I got in me. I did, savvy listeners will know I didn't do my Saturday Spiritualist on Saturday because I was dealing with all that. I never made a post about it, so I kind of feel bad about that, but at the same time, like, you know what, I was dealing with too much. I couldn't even do anything about it. But this is what I would have talked about, I think, because that's what was on my mind. I would have talked about how to reconcile this kind of thing, and so you can kind of roll the two into one. And so if you know somebody in your life who's gone, you know, remember the happy stuff. Be okay. Be sad about it. It's okay. But, you know, remember that there were good things out of it. There were good things. And that's what's important. And don't be afraid to talk about it. You know? It's hard. It is hard. I'm struggling right now. But yeah, so that's it. So that's all I got. I'm gonna cut it short, and probably deal with what I'm dealing with right now, which is okay. And I will catch you guys next time. Don't forget the rest of the stuff we got going this week. Tomorrow is Twitch Tuesday. I will probably still be streaming. I have a couple of games that are new, and I'll need to, you know, have my mind off things. So, I've got a couple games I'll play. Wednesday's Free and Clear, Thursday is Uncanny Spirits Club, and Friday is another episode of This Uncanny Earth, followed by Saturday Spiritualist on Saturday. And then Sunday is the rescheduled day that Rob and I are going to hang out, and we're going to do some various video posts and things, and we might do a live on location here and there at some places that we've been going to, like maybe Rogue's Hollow or wherever. I don't know what he's got in mind. He's got some plans he's got percolating in his brain, and we're going to take care of that. So, whole week of stuff going on, and yeah, it's okay to be sad. It's okay. It's okay to be sad. You don't need me to tell you that. But if you wanted somebody to say that, here you go. It's okay. Alright, so that's all I got. I'm really going to go this time and deal with what I got going on. Thank you for listening, and I will catch you guys next week.